podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Now entering the PNRNetworks arena, coming down the aisle from Revere, Massachusetts, weighing in at absolutely none of your business. It's the mistress of mayhem, the queen of quips. It's time for Ring Around the Rosie with your hostess, Kim Brown.
Hey guys, welcome to another week here on Ring Around the Rosie. I am your host, Kim Brown, aka Platinum Rose Lady, welcoming you to my show on July 4th, 2016. Happy Independence Day, happy 4th of July, happy birthday to America. This is obviously a great day for America, and I wanted to say happy Independence Day to everybody. I hope you're celebrating or, having a good day, having a good time, barbecuing with your family or your friends, or hanging out, waiting for fireworks and stuff like that. That's always very cool. But be safe. Definitely be safe when it comes to fireworks. Especially if you're in a state where they're illegal. Like, don't do them because that's a bad idea because the cops don't like it. Massachusetts obviously has a big, to do when it comes to fireworks and the 4th of July because, we are the hub of the universe, as some smart guy said once a very long time ago. And they have this big celebration in Boston on the Esplanade, which is, really, really cool. And they have the Boston Pops there, and they have these enormous fireworks displays, and it's right by the Charles River, and it's awesome and great, and it's much better on TV. I mean, if you're one of those brave souls that wants to go down there and deal with all the crowds and the people and the craziness, that's great. I did it once. Never again. No, never again. That is way too many people. It is outside, so it's like, okay, well, that should be kind of good, except for the fact that it's freaking crazy hot. Obviously, things along those lines have changed since 9/11. It used to be that when they had this celebration, they would let people go there and show up like the night before and camp out and stuff like that so they could get good seats on the lawn and stuff. Obviously, safety issues, can't do that anymore. But today, it was really late. They usually let people onto the ground so they can get seats and stuff. They'll let people start now crazy stupid early in the morning. Today I guess they didn't let people on there until about 9 or so from what I heard. So I was like, okay, that's a little crazy because now you've got all these people kind of standing around waiting and then you let them in there. And like I said, it is hot in Massachusetts. It is summertime. Summer has finally hit and it's crazy hot and humid and disgusting. And it's, last night was fun. Real quick story. Last night the trains were just all messed up. So a normal trip home took me almost twice as long, and having to walk from one train station to another in soupy, disgusting weather. And I was like, by the time I got home, I was just like, I hate everybody. I hate everything. I want to go to bed. No, thankfully my guy was there to cheer me up and make me feel better because he's just awesome that way. So this week on the show, there's a couple of things going on, obviously, that we're going to talk about, results and things like that. I would like to send a shout out to Bray Wyatt, who was in a car accident, and that's why he was unable to be at Raw this week. Thankfully, it wasn't severe enough that he had a long stay in the hospital. From what I last heard, he wasn't in the hospital any longer and was recovering at home. So best wishes, positive vibes. So that's obviously, car accidents are scary, terrible things. And I'm glad that he wasn't injured too badly. Get well soon. And it seems really weird to say that, but now everybody likes, everybody likes Bray, but I'm obviously, Bray Wyatt is a character. There's a person under there, and to them, we wish, we here at Ring Around the Rosie, we being me and my imaginary friends, I guess, we all wish him luck and good vibes and healing vibes and stuff, and hoping that he gets well soon. So this week I thought I would talk about a topic that means a lot to me, and that would be the movies. I love movies. As I have mentioned before, I am the co-host of Subject Cinema, which is a movie podcast that me and my sweet, dear, long-suffering husband, TC, have been doing for over 10 years. Holy crap. And I just love to go to the movies. I love going to the theater to watch movies. I love watching them at home. I love watching movies everywhere, except like on the train, which I don't get people watching movies on their phone or like on their pad or something like that. I mean, I get that it's convenient and fun and stuff like that, but I'm like, how do you get invested in a movie if you're waiting to hear your stop? Because I've just read books on the train and wound up missing my stop because I get so into the book. I mean, that might just be me, but that's because I can only focus on one thing at a time. But professional wrestling and the movies have a kind of strange history. I'm not going to go into every single film because there's been quite a few. It's really weird because I kind of feel like wrestling has a love-hate relationship with movies, in the fact that some films are very disrespectful to professional wrestling, and some films are actually respectful, but in a way it also it comes across as kind of not disrespectful, but just sad, I guess is a way to put it, I suppose. A film that I happened to catch that I was like, okay, I really wasn't happy with the way this was portrayed, it's a classic film. Requiem for a Heavyweight was a teleplay. It was written by the great Rod Serling, the man that gave us The Twilight Zone. It was made into a feature film in 1962. And the film starred Anthony Quinn, Mickey Rooney, Jackie Gleason. It was a really powerful, really amazing, sad film. It looks at a boxer who is at the end of his career, and he has all these people in his life that really aren't good for him. They're really only looking out for themselves and their interests. And he's at a stage in his life when he should be really thinking about doing something else, because he's been in the ring for a long time and has taken a lot of blows to the head, which is something, that happens with boxers. And he has become ill because of it. They call it being punch drunk. It's got an actual name, which is dementia pugilistica. It's brain damage. He's been hit in the head so many times that he has brain damage. And he's just at this point in his life where he can't box anymore because it will literally kill him. But it's all he knows how to do. And because of the people around him that are making money off of him, he winds up becoming a professional wrestler. And the way that it's done in the film, it's really, I don't know if they meant to be insulting to wrestling, but me as a wrestling fan, I remember watching the end of this film and feeling like, after I turned off the movie, I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like I've just been insulted. It was the whole atmosphere around his journey to becoming a professional wrestler is very mocking of the business, of the people involved in the business. It just makes wrestling look like a very sleazy, cruel environment, and it makes the people who are involved look bad. It makes wrestling fans look bad. Requiem for a Heavyweight is a great film, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's beautifully shot, it's got a lot of heart to it, but if you are a wrestling fan, by the end of it, you definitely do feel like, I think I've just been insulted. It definitely has that feeling to it. You know, I don't, maybe I'm just being overly sensitive. I don't know. There are two films called The Wrestler that are very, very different films. One of them is a film from 1974 that was produced by former wrestler Vern Gagne. And it is looking at professional wrestling from the point of view, for the most part, of a promoter played by Edward Asner. And there are quite a number of wrestlers in it, in cameo roles, in smaller roles, you know, things like that, including Dusty Rhodes, Wahoo McDaniel. There's a scene with a dark-haired Ric Flair, which I was like, it took me, honest to goodness, it took me a second to recognize him. I was like, oh my gosh, that's Ric Flair. Wow. Billy Robinson. I mentioned Dusty Rhodes. There's a bar scene with a bar fight, of course, involving Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch, which I was like, why do I have this weird feeling that might have happened in real life at some point? Dusty and Dick getting in a bar fight. I don't know. It wasn't a terrible film. I mean, it wasn't the best film I've ever seen in my life, but it, you know, certainly wasn't a Citizen Kane of wrestling or anything. But it wasn't as bad as other things I've seen, that's for sure. I mean, I did sit through No Holds Barred, so there's that. One of the best films I've ever seen about wrestling, although it is another film that definitely will break your heart. 2008's The Wrestler, directed by Darren Aronofsky, is an incredibly powerful, incredibly moving, unbearably sad film. Looking at the career of a gentleman that in the ring goes by the name Randy the Ram Robinson. It's the story of Randy the Ram and also Robin Ramzinski, who is the person that's behind Randy, played by Mickey Rourke. And I have to be honest, and I'm not trying to sound like a jerk about this or anything like that. I'd seen other films Mickey Rourke had done before this film. 9.5 Weeks, which I think everybody has seen, whether they want to admit it or not. Whether it's one of those kind of films that you saw because you were actually curious about it, or whether it was one of those films you saw on a dare. Whatever. But I was really kind of surprised when I heard about this film and heard about Mickey Rourke playing this character. I was like, okay. You know, I was kind of like, okay, this is odd casting, but I guess we'll just kind of run with it. I have to be honest, I do think it's one of Mickey Rourke's best roles ever. The Wrestler looks at this man who was a professional wrestler in the 80s and was extremely popular, and now we're looking at him in the modern day of 2008 when this film was shot, and he's someone that he's broke, his body is broken, he has no money, he's working in a supermarket in a part-time job with people that treat him badly. And he works smaller independent promotions sometimes to get a little money, and also to be around people that understand him and treat him with respect, as opposed to the real world, quote, quote, that treats him poorly. It is an incredibly, incredibly beautiful film. It is also very difficult to watch in certain places. And the ironic thing is that is a statement that can be taken two different ways. Some people might think that when I'm saying that it's a difficult film to watch, I'm saying that because of one specific part of the film where Randy has a match with Necro Butcher. And it is incredibly violent with, staplers and signs and glass and all this stuff like that. And some people might be like, wow, that must be what she means by incredibly difficult to watch. Actually, no. I like that part a lot. Probably too much, which is probably my problem. Some of us never got ECW out of our systems, I guess, and probably never will. The hard part for me was, we find out during the film that Randy has a daughter, and her name is Stephanie, and that he is not in her life. Because when she was young and growing up and stuff like that, he was too busy being out on the road, being a wrestler, being a star, having all of the adoration and fans and love and all that, and she missed out on that. So they've hit a point in their lives now. She's a young woman, and he, tries to reach out to her in his way, and for a while it looks like things are going to go like, they might actually reconcile. Things don't go that way, and he winds up missing they arranged to meet and have dinner, and he winds up missing that time by making some very bad, stupid decisions. And when he tries to apologize for his behavior, she tells him that she doesn't want to see him any longer, or, and that was very difficult. There's a scene where they're on a pier together, and they're talking about their past and stuff like that, and how he wasn't there for her, and it was very, very difficult. That was the scene. It's really strange because when we saw the movie in the theater, and there's this earlier scene with Necro Butcher where there's, all this blood and violence and thumbtacks and all this other crazy shit going on. I could hear people around me, gasping and being like, oh my gosh, and all this stuff like that. And I just was sitting there, enjoying the movie. When the scene on the boardwalk happens where he's talking with his daughter, that's when I started to get emotional, and I started to cry. Daddy issues, I got them. Since this is a Darren Aronofsky film, we don't get any we get a resolution that's one of these draw your own conclusions about what happens, although you're totally sure it's something bad. By the end of the film, Randy has decided to become a wrestler again, and is is in a match with the person that was in his most remembered match 20 years ago. It's basically reunited the feud that he had with a man named Bob, played by Ernest the Cat Miller, who is portraying an Iranian character called the Ayatollah. And so they have this match at the end of the film, and it's very obvious that Randy is in a lot of physical pain. The stress that he's on because he had a heart attack earlier in the film, he's dealing with that during this match. His opponent notices this and tries to get him to pin him to end everything. Randy doesn't do it and wants to do his finisher, which is a form of a diving headbutt. He climbs up to the top of the turnbuckle, looks for his lady friend, girlfriend that he is involved with, and she is left because she knows that if he continues this match, he's going to die, and she basically doesn't want to see him die in the ring. And he jumps off the rope, and everything kind of went white, I think, and the film ends. It's very obvious by the way the film is shot that you as the audience are supposed to draw your own conclusions. The most obvious conclusion being that Randy winds up dying. And it's a really, really good film. It's also really, really difficult. I mean, I gotta be perfectly honest, it's one of these films that certain wrestlers had certain opinions about it. Obviously, they'd have opinions because it's dealing with their business, and it's funny because it never really occurred to me what, you see films all the time where, you have good cops or bad cops, or good doctors or bad doctors, or good military people or bad military people, or blah, 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 blah. And it's odd how it never really occurred to me what people who are in those professions must think about films that deal with their profession in a specific way. It never really occurred to me very much. When The Wrestler came out, you had a lot of wrestlers saying that it was a really great film and how it showed how things could go wrong and stuff like that, and how it was, they really praised it. And some wrestlers or people involved in wrestling did not. Someone that praised it a lot, which Mr. Aronofsky was, really proud of, was Roddy Piper. He said that Roddy Piper had really, felt it as a powerful, moving film, and had, seen a lot of things about it that he said that he told Aronofsky had said that Roddy had actually cried in Mickey Rourke's arms after seeing it, and that he felt like it was a really good film and like showing the pitfalls that people can fall into as wrestlers. You have these guys and ladies that go out there and put their bodies on the line, and I think I'd like to think that the era of wrestlers going out there and doing all these crazy spots and stuff like that, and then hitting the strip clubs, getting hammered, doing coke, sleeping with random people, I'd like to think that people have kind of gone beyond that, because they have all the wellness tests and things like that now, but people have to deal with pain. I mean, these guys and ladies go through a lot of pain every night, to do what they do, which is to entertain us. And you have to deal with that pain somehow, but you hope that people aren't doing it in ways that are illegal or are going to get them physically hurt at some point, obviously, because they're human beings and we should care about them. Other people were not as kind to the film. Jim Cornette brought up that he felt the film was very one-sided and very depressing, and saying that it wasn't accurate when it came to what wrestlers do and stuff like that. And that's his right. I mean, he has a right to say that. He's been involved in wrestling, and if he feels that way, that's what it is. It is what it is. One little bit of trivia that I wanted to bring up about the wrestler that I thought was very cool, was the fact that, Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine, one of my favorite songs ever from one of my favorite bands in the entire world. That's Randy's entrance music when he comes back to the ring to fight the Ayatollah. And, Mickey Rourke had brought up that the lead singer of Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, let them use that song for free. I mean, you have to pay for songs to use them in a movie, which I know some people might not have known that one. I actually was kind of like, I don't really know how that works, but if that's how it works, you have to pay the artist, obviously, to use their song in a film. And Axl said they could use it for free, because he knew that the budget on this film wasn't some, $20 billion Jurassic World kind of budget. And I thought that was really, really cool. I was like, that's really awesome. That's another thing I really liked about The Wrestler, was the fact that a lot of the music is music from the 80s, because that's the era that Randy was popular in. So you had stuff from Rat, from Quiet Riot, all kinds of stuff like that, which I thought I liked that, because that's my kind of music. That's the music that I mean, not that I don't like grunge or other kinds of music, because I do. Obviously the whole thing with the wrestler actually wound up getting, went even further when you had Mickey Rourke showing up at WrestleMania 25 to promote the film, and Chris Jericho wound up getting in his face, and that didn't work out really well for him, which I was kind of like, okay. If you've never seen The Wrestler, it's a really amazing film, and you should definitely check it out. If you're a person that's learning about film and you're kind of trying to branch out and look for different kinds of films to watch, films you've never seen before or anything like that, I would definitely suggest giving Darren Aronofsky a watch. His stuff is really, really amazing. It's not for everybody, and he definitely can wind up doing stuff that pisses people off. 2017's Mother would be a great example of that. But if you want to see it, like I mentioned, The Wrestler, amazing film. Black Swan, incredible film from 2010, also a complete and utter mindfuck. And his film from 2000, Requiem for a Dream, is a film that is one of the most powerful anti-drug films I've ever seen in my life. I would think if it was up to me, I would show that film in every high school in America, because this film shows you how much drugs can fuck up your life and the lives of people around you, and not just illegal drugs. People think, oh, well, I'm just taking whatever, and that's my doctor gave it to me, so that's okay. Yeah, but if you abuse it, then it's not okay anymore. And it's such a great film, but it's really weird because it's one of those films where if somebody said to me, have you seen Requiem from a Dream? I'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen it. It's an incredible film. If they said to me, would you watch it again? I'd say, shit, no. It's one of those films that you can only see once because it's so powerful and so disturbing and sticks in your head that you can only see it the one time. And I think everybody has a film like that. You see it once and you can't see it again because it's so powerful and so disturbing, and you don't want to be like in a down mood for the rest of the week. There's other films out there about wrestling, obviously, done by the WWE for the most part, employing their own people, which are, a lot of just fluffy action stuff, which is fine. You need that every once in a while, stuff to get your mind off things. And I mean, not every single movie is going to be something where you're worrying about your carbon footprint and all that stuff like that. You just, every once in a while, you want to watch something that's fun and exciting and, fluffy and not something that you have to stress over. When it comes to wrestling documentaries, there's, quite a few of those out there as well. One of the ones that is definitely one of the best movies I've ever seen, never mind wrestling or documentary or anything like that, movie-wise, one of the best movies I've ever seen is 1999's Beyond the Mat. Little side story about Beyond the Mat. We went to see this at our local theater, which at the time was going through some renovations. And we both had the day off from work, my husband and I, and we were going to the movie anyway, and we're like, oh, let's go to the show because we have the day off and stuff like that. And because it's New England, it was March and we had a snowstorm. So, but we're like, we'll go. We're from New England. We're hardy people. Well, I'm from New England. He's from all over the place, but he's a hardy person too. So we braved the snow, got the bus, got to the theater, and now this theater is going through this transformation, and you've got these much larger theaters and everything like that, and they're like, oh, your movie's down there. And we have to go down this one little teeny grotty, hallway into the one teeny tiny grotty theater that's left. And I'm like, man, if this doesn't show you what people think of professional wrestling, nothing will. Beyond the Mat is a really, really amazing look at professional wrestling from all kinds of different angles. There's quite a lot about the WWF at the time and also about ECW, which now you look back on and it's just like, wow. You just like, Cinderella had it right. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Seriously. One of the things that gets looked at in the film is the career of Jake the Snake Roberts, who at the time is going through a lot of, problems with addiction and family estrangement. And at one point we're shown him trying to attempt to reconcile with his daughter, and, I will be perfectly honest and say I missed a little of the film because I was watching that part, and again, hello daddy issues. I got up and ran to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall and cried for about 10 minutes. I really think I worried my husband because he's like sitting there. I came back and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, he was worried because he's a love like that, but I was so glad we're in a dark theater because I caught a look at myself before I went back to the theater, and my eyes were just red and puffy and horrible, and I was like, I just went back and I'm like, I'm fine. I mean, he knew I wasn't fine. I mean, he's a smart guy. He totally knew I wasn't fine. But that was really, really powerful and disturbing, that part of the film. But I gotta talk about another part of the film that, it's really strange how something can wind up changing your perception, of something that had happened previously. I bring this up because of the footage that was shown of the 1999 match at the 1999 Royal Rumble, the I Quit match that happened that night between Mick Foley as Mankind and The Rock. Now, I remember that match. I remember us watching that match via pay-per-view, and the both of us were really into it and really excited and watching this match, and man, wasn't it incredible, and wow, look at the beating these guys were taking and stuff like that, and, you know, holy shit, this is awesome. And then we're watching Beyond the Mat, and we're watching the reactions of Mick Foley's wife and his 2 children. At the time, he and his lovely wife had 2 children. Now they have more kids, and good luck to them, obviously. They're nice people. They had a son and a daughter, and the film is showing their reaction while Mankind is getting blasted with chair shot after chair shot after chair shot after chair shot from The Rock. And we're watching this, and we're watching the look of abject terror on all of their faces, and watching Mick Foley's children screaming and crying, and all this, you know, just all this complete horror on their faces. And I remember the 2 of us talking about that after the movie, and we were both kind of like, I'm never going to be able to watch. I don't remember who said it first, but one of us said, I'm never going to be able to watch that match again. And the other one said, yeah, me neither. You know, we were both kind of like, man, that really changed your perception. I mean, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, and I'm not saying that to knock Mr. Blaustein or his film, because like I mentioned, I think it's an incredible film. If for nothing else, just watching Spike Dudley with blood pouring down his face quoting Shakespeare, you know, that was just, I don't even know what to call that. Surreal. Let's go with surreal. That was completely surreal and insane and magnificent, and I was impressed. Speaking as someone who's done a little acting, I was like, that dude has blood pouring down his face, and he's reciting Shakespeare, and I can't do that when I'm like uninjured. So kudos to you. Another thing about it that I want to bring up real quick about Beyond the Mat was a scene where we see Paul Heyman in the back of the ECW arena talking with the wrestlers, and, you know, giving everybody a speech before the show starts. And people have often referred to Paulie as a mad scientist and stuff like that. And sometimes that's used in a good way, and sometimes it's not used in a good way. You listen to him talk to these guys and ladies, and it's very obvious why ECW had the loyal following that it had, listening to Paul Heyman speak. Because he's an incredibly eloquent man. Always has been, always probably will be. If you've never seen Beyond the Mat, definitely that's a film you should check out. If you've never seen Wrestling with Shadows, that's another one that's really good. That's dealing with the Montreal Screwjob as it happened. That's a really great film too. There's another film coming out, another documentary coming out about wrestling. I know this, it's a Fathom Events film that's going to be coming out, I think, later this month. I hopefully haven't missed it. I'm waiting for it to come out, and if you get a chance to see it, definitely check it out as well. If you guys have a favorite wrestling movie, I'd like to know what it is and why. I mean, why it's a favorite of yours and what makes it so special. PlatinumRoselle@yahoo.com. I'll put Ring Around the Rosie in the header, and I'll know that you want me to read it on the air, and I will definitely do so. So, moving forward, let's talk about the Raw and Smackdown results for this week, with Raw coming from Sioux Falls, South Dakota this week, and the beginning of the show had this whole confrontation thing happening with first Roman Reigns coming out, and then Intercontinental Champion Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, his I don't know what, coming where I'm not touching that bodyguard, I don't know what, coming out, and basically, first Roman came out and was talking about Bobby Lashley and the incident that happened the week before. And then you had Drew and Dolph coming out and basically beating on Roman until there's a save made by Seth Rollins, which I was like, of course, everybody in their fucking mind was going crazy because this is kind of a Shield reunion of at least part of the Shield, so that's something anyway. Following that, we had Matt Hardy, who was not... who came to the ring without Bray Wyatt, aforementioned traffic accident. And we had the whole video mockery thing with Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas mocking Matt and Bray with, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I'm the whole thing with Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, it irritates me simply because I'm like, fuck, Matt and Bray aren't weird enough. We have you two idiots out here doing this too. I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with the whole mocking thing, but do it well. If you're gonna mock somebody, at least do a good job of it. That wasn't very good. We wind up with a match with Curtis Axel going against Matt Hardy, with Curtis Axel actually winning, which I was kind of surprised about. But, but he didn't win without some help from, Bo Dallas causing a distraction. Sorry, I had something stuck in the back of my throat. The week previous, we had a whole incident with, Bayley and Sasha Banks where the loss of a match wound up with Bayley snapping and beating the living shit out of Sasha, which some people took as a heel turn for Bayley, and some people took as Sasha's had this coming for a while. Kurt Angle, in his infinite wisdom, eye roll, decided that they needed counseling, so we have the return of Dr. Shelby. Can you hear my enthusiasm? Can you hear that? Did that sound enthusiastic enough? So anyway, so we have this whole therapy session with Sasha and Bayley, which turns into a complete and utter screaming match. Therapy isn't funny. I'm sorry. I hate to sound like one of these people that's, telling people how to write their stuff and stuff like that. But therapy, mental illness, and that kind of thing is not funny. It just isn't. Knock it off. That's my take on it. So, take it for what it's worth. The next match in the ring, let's get back to the ring, please, was Titus Worldwide, Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews with Dana Brooke in their corner, going against the Authors of Pain, and with Akam and Razor being the ones to get the win. Following that match, we had the match that was made later because of what happened earlier in the show, with Roman Reigns teaming with Seth Rollins in a tag team match going against Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. It turned out to be a win over them via disqualification. So take that for what it's worth. The reason why there was a disqualification was because the Revival, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, got involved and jumped on Roman and Seth and basically started beating on them. Really? That's the hill you two want to die on? Okay. I'm sorry. I realize the whole thing, and I'm not knocking Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson as performers, because they're really great wrestlers, but their whole thing is, we're real wrestlers and that's why people don't like us. No, we don't like you because you're a couple of dicks. I mean, that's, we're not flashy enough, so that's why you fans don't like us. No, it's still because you're a couple of dicks. Just saying. The constable of WWE comes out to the ring next, Baron Corbin. Constable? Do people really use that word anymore? I mean, I thought that was like some old-timey Keystone Cops way of talking. Constable? Really? I don't... Anyway, Corbin comes to the ring with a mic because we can't have nice things, and winds up berating Finn Balor and telling Finn that Finn owes Baron an apology for last week's debacle of a match. That goes about as well as you think it's going to go, with Finn basically being like, yeah, I'll apologize for your shitty taste in clothes and your shitty taste in non-hair, and Baron takes a cheap shot on Finn, which seems really, really stupid, but look at the way you dress and look at your hair, and the fact that you are willing to call yourself a constable. Obviously, you have some questionable life choices, along with picking on Finn Balor, which seems incredibly stupid because he can wrestle rings around you blindfolded and with one hand tied behind his back. So, moving forward, that also brings up the next thing for the next match. I'm sorry, I should bring that up. We had Liv Morgan of the Riot Squad who came out with Sarah Logan because apparently these people can't go anywhere without each other. Ruby Riott was not there because she was hurt because she got injured in the ring, so obviously that's not a good thing. So Ruby, hope you get well soon, even though you really make me sick when I see you on TV because you irritate me. So anyway, Liv Morgan went against Ember Moon. Do I really need to talk about this? I mean, really? Do I really have to talk about... Well, I could talk about the fact that Ember Moon won, which makes me happy, and Ember Moon beat up Liv Morgan, which made me even happier. Because I like Ember Moon and I don't like Liv Morgan, so there's that. I love the way Ember dresses. I think she's an amazing wrestler, and that's all there is to it. Although I do, like I said, the first time I saw her with the red eyes and all that, all I was thinking was Crossroads Demon. But, that's what happens when Supernatural fans watch wrestling, I guess. We had a match again with Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley because it worked so well the last time. With the two of them teaming up again, and they're both so thrilled about it, going against the Revival. And this went about as well as you figured it was going to go, with the fact that Roman and Lashley were basically... I was like, how long is it going to be before they just turn around and start punching each other and screw the Revival? As it turned out, that actually didn't quite happen exactly that way. The match wound up going to a disqualification, with the Revival getting disqualified and Roman and Lashley winning. But it didn't end really well for Roman, who got the crap kicked out of him by Dash and Dawson. Following that was supposed to be a match with No Way Jose and his entourage of, I don't know what you'd call them, but they're there. Going against Mojo Rawley, who apparently has a cactus up his ass or something lately, because he's seriously got something bothering him, but besides the fact that nobody cares about him. Mojo decides to show how much of a tough person he is by beating up a guy wearing a cheeseburger costume. What? I don't know. And the match actually never occurred, so there's that. There was a short feature on Ronda Rousey, who mentioned that while she is suspended, she is going to still be at WWE Extreme Rules for the match between Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss, which if I was Alexa Bliss, I would book a one-way ticket to Antarctica because, I'm sorry, Rhonda's basically going to mangle you when she gets her hands on you. And when that finally does happen, I'm going to laugh like the Joker. I know I am. But in the meantime, we had Alexa's, whatever she is, hanger-on, shadow, whatever, Mickie James going against Nia Jax. Nia, who decided not to come down to the ring by herself, and she comes out to the ring with Natalya. And needless to say, Nia winds up winning the match after a Samoan drop, which I enjoyed quite a lot. Following that was something that's been going on all evening long. That being Kevin Owens whining about the fact that Braun Strowman has him in his crosshairs. Now, this happened from the beginning of the show pretty much all the way to the end, with Kevin Owens whining to Kurt Angle about how Braun needs to be suspended, fired, put in therapy, shot to the moon, whatever. The last one didn't happen, but Kurt's response to this was finally that fine, you and Braun have a match tonight, and that's all there is to it. Now, last week, Kevin's rental car was completely trashed by Braun, and I thought it was funny. But then again, we don't really want to get into the things I find funny. So when this match actually happened, it actually didn't. Because once Kevin actually got out there and got to the ring and got in the ring with Braun, he promptly ran out. And spent the next, few minutes and all hiding from Braun. And eventually tried to drive away from the arena but didn't have his keys. It was like something out of a horror movie where you see the heroine running away and she gets to her car and, oh my gosh, she doesn't have her keys. Now picture Kevin Owens doing that, where he's obviously not as pretty as your average horror movie heroine, although Braun Strowman is as scary as your average horror movie monster. And I mean that in the nicest possible way, Mr. Strowman, please don't kill me. So Kevin's brilliant scheme was to basically use the Chekhov's gun that was next to the car. Those of you who don't know what that means, look up Chekhov's gun on Wikipedia, you'll get it. Which was a porta potty. So Kevin gets in the porta potty and locks the door and hopes that Braun will go away. Braun doesn't go away. After knocking on the door and then asking in a high-pitched voice if anyone was in there, which had me roaring with laughter because I am just sick, Braun decided to tape the door shut. I was actually kind of surprised there was enough room between the porta potty and the wall for Braun to get behind. I was like, he's not going to fit back there. Oh no, he did. Oh, look at that. So now he's got Kevin trapped inside said porta john, and then proceeds to bring the porta potty into the building. I was kind of like, all right, that's not going to fit through the door, bro. Oh, no, wait, it did. I was like, okay. So he drags the porta potty into the building, out to the ring, up the ramp with the conveniently placed ramp on the side of the stage. I was like, that's interesting. I bet that wasn't there 5 minutes ago. And he proceeds to put the porta potty with Kevin Owens inside, screaming at Braun, proceeds to shove it violently off the side of the stage. And the audience roared with laughter and applause and such, and Kevin Owens came out of the porta potty covered in a lot of blue liquid, and probably spiders, because usually that's why I try not to use those things, because they do sometimes have spiders in them. Usually that's ones that have been out in the open for a long time, though, but still blue stuff and who knows what else. Ew. It was an interesting way to end Raw, I gotta say that. The following evening at SmackDown Live, which was in Omaha, Nebraska, which I'm sure is a lovely place, although I've never been there. The week before saw something that I have to be perfectly honest, I never thought I would see again. Kane in the ring and the reuniting of Daniel Bryan and Kane as Team Hell No when Kane showed up to save Daniel Bryan from a hellacious beatdown from the Bludgeon Brothers. I mean, that was definitely one of those what the actual fuck moments. So the show begins with Daniel and Kane in the ring at the same time and talking about the things that they've been through and talking about, trying to be being a team again and also arguing because they bicker like, a married couple. Seriously, you get Kane and Daniel Bryan together and it's like, some of us might be having parental flashbacks listening to the two of them argue. Thankfully, we didn't have to call Dr. Shelby quickly because we are interrupted by Jimmy and Jay Uso, who wind up at first being happy that Kane and Daniel seem to be back together, but they also are pissed off that they are going to be in the Extreme Rules match, or possibly could be in the Extreme Rules match, I should say. Paige comes out and says that Team Hell No are going to get a chance at the Bludgeon Brothers and their tag team belts. But if the Usos can beat them in a match tonight, then the match at Extreme Rules will become a triple threat match with the Usos versus Team Hell No versus the Bludgeon Brothers. Obviously, that could be an incredibly cool thing. United States champion Jeff Hardy issues a Independence Day United States Open challenge for his belt. Jeff's makeup, obviously, keeping in tune with the fact that the next day would be Independence Day, had a really cool red, white, and blue motif on with his eyelids painted so that when he closes his eyes, he has eyelids, his eyelids have eyes on them, because that's not creepy. And I don't get the contact lenses. I really don't. I mean, they're cool as shit. They're really cool and edgy and totally Jeff Hardy, even though I do feel like they make him look like he's been bit by a walker and he's turning. But dude, how do you wrestle in those things? How do you see in those things? Maybe, funky contact lenses have come a long way since when I remember funky contacts starting and people being like, they're cool, but I can't see shit, maybe Jeff Hardy's, better than your average man and stuff like that and figured out a way to do it because actually, if anybody could do that, it would be Jeff because Jeff is just Jeff. They don't call him the charismatic enigma for no reason, even though that doesn't make much sense either. So anyway, Open Challenge. Open Challenge winds up being answered by The Miz because we can't have nice things. Which ends with the match, which is, obviously when you've got these two, it's going to be a terrific match because they're both great, even though Miz is an asshole. And it winds up, with Jeff winning with a twist of fate and a swanton because he's Jeff Hardy, and that's just the way that it goes. Following this, we had what was going to be a third annual 4th of July, let me try that again. Sorry, my tongue got all tangled up. The 3rd of July, first annual 3rd of July. There we go. I get it eventually. I need to stop drinking before I do this. I was just drinking water. Calm down. The 3rd of July pancake eating contest with the New Day. Okay. So you had Xavier Woods, Big E, and Kofi Kingston out there, doing their whole power of positivity thing, and they're going to be, having this contest between the three of them to see who can eat the most pancakes in 5 minutes. Okay, eating contest. If you can actually do that and not make yourself sick, more power to you. I couldn't do it. But I don't understand how you can eat pancakes cold, number one. I don't understand how you can eat pancakes without butter and syrup, because that's positively inhumane. Serving pancakes to somebody without butter and syrup is inhumane. I'm sorry, it just is. And we had the New Day preparing to eat pancakes that were red, white, and blue. One pile was red, one pile was white, and one pile was blue. And I have to be perfectly honest, if I never see another blue pancake again, it'll be too damn soon, because that just looks weird. It looks like somebody squashed a Smurf. It's just gross. I'm like, I don't know if I can actually watch this. The thing is, the contest got started, the lights went out, and out comes Sanity, Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane, and Eric Young, who then proceed to beat the holy living frog snot out of the New Day because they don't like pancakes? They don't like the 3rd of July? They're just assholes? I don't know. I'm going with all of the above, I guess. I don't know. They don't like fun? I mean, if you look at them, they apparently look like the kind of people that don't like fun. Actually, they look like the kind of people that if you saw them, you'd walk over to the other side of the street. I mean, I'm not trying to be unkind. Well, no, actually, that was kind of unkind. I can't really deny it. They look like scary, people that you'd see on a wanted poster somewhere. People that, live in the woods and prepare for the end of the world shit. That kind of deal. Because of James Ellsworth and his mouth, we wind up and what happened last weekend at the previous pay-per-view, we have Asuka wasting her time with this yoik in a match that is supposed to be, this whole battle of the sexes thing, which they talked about previously, talking about the true battle of the sexes between, the tennis match with Billie Jean King and that asshole that she went against, that she kicked his butt, and they made a movie about it and all that stuff like that. I'm sorry, Asuka having to fight this twit is an insult to Asuka and wrestling and women and men and mammals and anybody else I can think of. It actually didn't happen because Ellsworth took off and Asuka took off after him, and it wound up being a double countout, which didn't sit too well with Paige, because Paige said that Ellsworth is going to have to face Asuka again next week. And because he got an attack of the limber-tail, as certain people have said in the past, like Jim Ross. Hi, Jim. This is going to be a special match in the fact that it's going to be a lumberjack match. The women's division is going to surround the ring to make sure nobody tries this running and getting out of the ring thing. A lumberjack match with women lumberjacks. Shouldn't that be called something else? Like, nobody's name is Jack. Lumberjack kind of indicates men, so let's call it like a lumber something. Not a lumber Jill match, because that's obvious. Let's just call it a lumber please let James Ellsworth get his ass handed to a match. Let's try that. It's a little long, but I think we can all live with it. Following that, we had WWE champion AJ Styles, who looks more and more like Tom Cruise every year, and I don't know how that happens. Seriously, I don't know what it is. AJ with long hair always reminds me of Tom Cruise. I don't get it. AJ going against Aiden English, with AJ winding up winning the match, which I was kind of like, is anybody really surprised by this? AJ winning by making Aiden tap out from the calf crusher. The problem is that once the match was over, AJ wound up having to deal with Aiden's partner, Rusev, who wound up kicking AJ with the matcha kick and then locked him in the accolade because Rusev is a jerk. Sorry, that's all there. Can't really say anything other than that. Before the next match, we had the Iconics, Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch's match was next, with Becky going against Peyton Royce from the Iconics with Billie Kay in her corner. Before the match, we had Peyton and Billie talking into the camera and being their usual bitchy selves. See, once again, we can't have nice things. Thankfully, Becky's winning streak continues, and Peyton could actually use her voice for something useful other than annoying the fucking shit out of me when she had to scream and tap out because Becky locked her in the disarm her, and I laughed hysterically because I'm kind of a sadist that way. Like the song said, I am what I am. I don't want praise. I don't want pity. Following that was the main event of Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane going against the Usos with, if the match was won by the Usos, they would get a shot as being in the, making the match a three-way dance at Extreme Rules for the Tag Team Championship. That wound up not happening with Kane delivering the choke slam and delivered it to Jey Uso and wound up getting the pin. Hell No didn't have a lot of time to celebrate their victory because the whole thing that they do when they have a victory, or Daniel Bryan does, the whole yes chant, didn't get to have a lot of time to do that because out on the stage come the Bludgeon Brothers with their hammers and standing there being all like, grr, we're scary. Looking at Kane and Daniel with looks like if looks could kill, they'd both be dead in the ring. And that ended the show. And once again, if you had asked me which was better, Raw or SmackDown, once again, I'm gonna have to say SmackDown. It's just, I think it's a better show. I think it has better people. I think we didn't have that whole therapy thing with Dr. Shelby, so that pushed it up in my book. So it's just how I feel. Before I end the show this week, I have something that I'd like to say that I really wish I didn't have to. We as wrestling fans and we as people lost a really special person last week, and I wanted to talk about it real quick. Matthew Capotelli, known to wrestling fans as Matt Capotelli, passed away on June 29th, 2018. He was 38 years old. Some people out there may not know who Matt is if you are a more recent wrestling fan. For those of you who do remember Matt, it's because of the fact that he was involved with Tough Enough. He was part of the group of athletes who were involved with Tough Enough 3, and he wound up winning. He was a co-winner along with John Hennigan, who has gone on to be Johnny Blaze, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, all these other different names that he's been under, and, a lot of success to him now. As far as I know, he's still in Lucha Underground. Matt was a joy to watch because you could tell when you were watching Tough Enough, he really wanted this. He wanted to be a professional wrestler really badly and wanted to work really hard to be a professional wrestler. During the show was when we saw an ugly side of professional wrestling when one of the people that was helping out with training, allegedly, was Bob Holly, Hardcore Holly, who worked Matt over pretty badly, leaving him bloodied and basically with Holly looking like a bully, which if anybody who's followed professional wrestling for any amount of time really shouldn't be surprised at. He became part of the WWE universe and was did some shows and stuff like that. He was involved in one of the pay-per-views, Vengeance, and was part of the APA Invitational Barroom Brawl. After that, he was sent to Ohio Valley Wrestling and formed a tag team while he was there with Johnny Jeter called the Thrill Seekers. And he had some success there, and he was announced to people, though, that in 2006 he announced that he was ill, that he had cancer, and wound up retiring from wrestling. He had surgery actually wound up having to have surgery in Boston, which I was like, wow, I wish I'd known. I would have, called a radio station and said, hey, shout out to Matt Capotelli, everybody send him positive vibes or something. But he had surgery, and the surgery was allegedly a success, and the brain tumor that he was dealing with had been removed. He wound up becoming a trainer for OVW And it seemed like things were actually working out pretty well for him. He got married to a young lady named Lindsay, and he was working as a trainer, and everything hopefully seemed to be going really well. Unfortunately, it turned out that it didn't. I mean, I'd love to have a happy Hollywood ending, and I can't, and that sucks. Matt announced in 2017 that the cancer had come back and that it was worse. You know, it was really, really bad. He announced, his wife had announced in May of this year that he had decided that he was going to stop having medical treatment for the tumor that he was dealing with. Which I completely think is obviously a very hard decision for somebody to make, because it's, you know, not affecting just them but their family and stuff like that. But nobody wants to see their family suffer. I think it was probably a very difficult decision for his family and for him. But you have to respect someone that doesn't want to go out hooked up to machines and stuff like that. As I mentioned, he passed away on June 29th. He was 38. And we're going to miss you a lot, Matt. I remember your smile, and I remember your energy, and I remember thinking that you were going to be somebody that wrestling was going to really take to their heart. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see that happen. And that sucks. And fuck cancer. I wanted to read you guys something that I found this on the internet. I didn't write it, so I wanted to read this to you guys just real quick. It's a little poem that I found. It's a little Irish poem. The name of the poem is "He Is Not Lost, Our Dearest Love." And it goes like this. He is not lost, our dearest love, nor has he traveled far, just stepped inside home's loveliest room and left the door ajar. We're going to miss you, Matt. We already miss you. The world is a little less bright because you're not in it anymore. Rest in peace, Matt. So that's my show for this week. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, comments, queries, complaints, Roman Reigns' phone number, whatever. That last one is a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. Stalking is bad, children. But if you have any comments about my show you'd like to send my way, or just wrestling in general, what you like, what you don't like, what you wish would change, who you'd like to see get pushed, who you'd like to see get pushed out the door, whatever, PlatinumRoseL@yahoo.com, put Ring Around the Rosie in the header, and I will know that you want me to read it on the air, and I definitely will do that. I hope that you will check out the other shows that are part of our little island of misfit toys. They would include Subject Cinema, as I mentioned, our wrestling podcast. Our movie podcast. This is the wrestling podcast, dummy. Our movie podcast where we do movie reviews and talk about movies and things going on in the movie industry and have all kinds of fun. Right now, at this time, we're doing our Boston Springs of Festival shows, which is talking about all of the film festivals in Boston and all of the movies that were at the film festivals, which are a lot. Boston and the surrounding areas have a lot of film festivals, which is awesome. It would be more awesome if they weren't all at the same fucking time. But anyway, you can check it out over there. You can also check out our list show, Front Row 5 and 10, which is TC and I taking a list and looking at all kinds of crazy things. This week's list is, you can listen to our most recent show, and then our newest show is coming up later on as well this week, and it's a lot of fun. And also there are other members of our family, including Aunt B's Nerd Grotto over on YouTube. That's Anthony Lamberti, who is a buddy of ours and an awesome person. There is the Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie, the Lyon family. I would also like to thank Eric for my new awesome theme because it kicks ass and Eric is amazing. And I have some new graphics as well, as you guys can see, which is done by other people who are way smarter than me, like TC and Eric, because they are fabulous. And we have some smaller shows as well. TC also has Catastrophe Vortex, which is not a smaller show. That's a really great show of his. He is a disaster movie junkie. There are earlier shows you can listen to. It will be back soon. And he has, as I mentioned, some smaller shows, 3 Minute Weekend and Tuesday Digidex, which are shows that are looking at upcoming movies at the theater, movies on demand, movies coming out on DVD, so you can know where to spend your well-earned money, and hopefully not get crap that you don't want. If you are in a more dramatic frame of mind, you can listen to Manhattan Hammerdown As It Happens, which was a dramatic work that we all were involved with, everybody in our little Popcorn and Roses PNRNetworks family. It is looking at what else happened in New York City the night that something large and pissed off came out of New York Harbor. It was done in conjunction and in celebration of the 10-year anniversary of the movie Cloverfield. It's a labor of love. It was really a lot of fun, and you can check that out at Manhattan Hammerdown As It Happened. So that is going to wrap it up for me this week here on Ring Around the Rosie. This is Kim Brown, aka Platinum Rose Lady, signing off for another week, and I hope you guys will come back next week for yet another show. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Ring Around the Rosie with Kim Brown, a production of PNR Networks. Keep in touch with all things about the show at http://ringaroundtherosie.net. Ring Around the Rosie intro performed by Eric Lyon. Ring Around the Rosie theme by Digital Juice. Join Kim for a new Ring Around the Rosie every Wednesday. Ring Around the Rosie is copyright 2018 PNR Networks, Boston, Massachusetts, USA.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.